it doesn't like it doesn't like being all the way up like that. It's like doesn't want to go live. Weird. All right. Well. Hello. Somebody's on. I should do this a little bit more.
Somebody's on. We're on the YouTube now?
Yeah.
Yay!
What's up, guys?
Okay, let me get this camera going. What time is it? Oh, who's on? Does it say?
4:56. There's no name. Who are you out there? Charlie's very excited.
Are you excited too, Charlie?
Oh, teeth are popping out. He's going. You're cute, Charlie. I love you. Charlie's food was supposed to come 2 days ago. His kibble was supposed to come.
Yeah.
From Amazon, and they said they couldn't deliver it for some reason. Now we're out of food.
Oh.
So.
How wild.
I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed. I'm not really sure what to do about it.
Hi, Fernando. Hello, everybody on Facebook. How are we today? How is it going?
We're drinking Palomas.
Yeah, we are drinking Palomas. Erin, can you enlighten the folks at home as to what is the construction of a delightful Paloma?
I don't know that I'm doing it 100% right, but it's tequila.
Ghetto Paloma?
Yeah, ghetto Paloma. And then it's grapefruit juice.
Yeah.
And sugar on the rim instead of salt. And it's traditionally like sparkling water too, like a mineral water or club soda.
Love that.
But I kind of cheated and did like a flavored one, so it's also a grapefruit flavored sparkling water. But I think people like to cheat. People just do a grapefruit soda. Like, what is it, Squirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just do tequila and the grapefruit soda like that.
We love Squirters.
I've seen that.
And anyways, so welcome back to Tequila Tuesdays. It's 2021. How is everybody? We're surviving. Part 2 of 2020, but you know, the spirits are high today. Thank you. I enjoyed this shirt as well. And I don't know, how are you feeling? Well, I tell you what, before we even start, I want to apologize to everybody if our connection goes bad, because the wind is like ruining everybody's lives outside, and it's quite wild, but we're going to try to do our best under these weather conditions.
Yeah, it's gone out twice in the office today, the electricity. So everything went dead. And then there's these downed trees everywhere, and it's been kind of crazy. I went down to Cabrillo today to like look to see if I could, because I had a swim planned.
Yeah.
And I was all excited, and I got down there, and it was just like ridiculous. The buoy wasn't even there. I don't know if the lifeguards came out and pulled the buoy out or what, but it wasn't there. And I was like, maybe that's just a sign. Maybe that's just a sign.
Right.
I'm not supposed to swim today. Who knows? Anyway. Hi, Charlie.
So.
It's Charlie.
Am I gonna? Yeah. You want to join?
Exactly.
This is.
Here it is.
Do you want to get a question from the bowl?
Oh yeah, but I thought we were going to talk about our most burning question.
Oh yeah,
which is basically, how do you market yourself right now? Because the environment is cray. So it's Charlie. Charlie Dog says hi. He's Charlie Dog. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. First and foremost, I feel like don't go dark is my biggest thing right now.
Yeah, for how to survive marketing on the pandemic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so number one, we want to advise everyone not to go dark. And the reason why we want to advise everyone not to go dark is because a lot of what happens in your social media engagement is built on social momentum, right? And anticipatory things. So the longer you wait for things to come out, sure, you build anticipation, but if you keep people waiting too long, nobody's going to want to come back for it. You know what I mean? It's going to escape people's algorithms. It's not going to be within their sight. if you have people who are very reliant on your stories, and if you don't keep those stories updated, they're going to be lost in the feed. You know what I mean? I like to think about it as kind of like a restaurant. Like when you're at a restaurant, you don't really want to wait longer than necessary to go. Like, sure, you'll do it if you're really down, but for the most part, we're not waiting that long. You know what I mean? And social media is very impatient and unforgiving, and they'll cancel you in a minute, over like anything. So you definitely don't want to give them a reason to by giving them longer wait times. Indeed.
I feel like some people are feeling, I've gotten this from a couple of clients. They feel like they don't want to post anything because they don't want it to get buried, which is, that is a thing. But also I think what's more of a thing right now is looking insensitive by not posting anything. So sometimes, people will feel like they need to like play it safe and, not offend anyone, when in reality, I think it's worse to be scared of saying something right now because it does come off as insensitive, or as, people will take it all kinds of ways. You'll just take the silence some kind of way. So posting something that is relevant to what's going on, but also staying as positive as possible, I think is usually the best way to go.
Right. And another thing, and two things I want to bring up to everybody is that, so we first observed like a large portion of this during the Black Lives Matter protests of last year. You know what I mean? On Twitter, everybody was getting railed because they were just continuing to post their stuff after the George Floyd thing. And people were in people's comments telling them like, stop posting. We're trying to focus on something else right now. We have bigger issues than what you ate today, bigger issues than your haircut highlights. You know what I mean? Like, stop posting, stop posting, stop posting. And content creators were like, well, I can't stop posting. I get monetized. You know what I mean? Like, one post gives me like $1,000. Like, why should I stop posting? You know what I mean? And they're like, well, we're going to post something helpful. Yeah. And so a lot of people are like, okay, well, what am I going to post that's helpful? You know what I mean? Which brings me to point number 2 is that when you want to not look insensitive but still want to speak but don't want to like agitate the masses, what you should then do is you should promote something that you're doing. I'll give you an example. So we have a lot of our clients and business friends. They are like, you know what? I don't really know what to say about the pandemic, but what I can say is that we're offering donations. We're offering pickups. We're going to take things to shelters. We're going to like Hilton. They were like, well, we're going to offer people rooms to take during their breaks so they don't have to go back to their family if they're frontline workers and they're getting exposed to the COVID. You know what I mean? Like Black Night Patrol, they have a lot of like things of them going around and helping people in the public. John, Big Nick's Pizza Daddy, he's always talking about, he's giving pizzas to frontline workers whenever they need like foods. You know what I mean? That's his donation. Like, talk about things like that. Talk about things that are helpful. Talk about things that you could be seen doing. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything to say, if you don't want to agitate people, or if you're too scared, you know what I mean? Then that's the perfect opportunity to say, listen, I don't know what I want to say, but I know what I can do. I know what I can offer. And I just want you guys to know that I may not know what to say, but I can still contribute to the conversation. And that's the whole thing about social media. The large part of it is you're starting conversations with people. I was explaining to some other clients of mine about the thing about social media during the pandemic is that people have been inside the entire time. And what they've been lacking is social interaction. And people are going to be looking for that online and trying to compensate for that being stuck inside, working from home, can't see your homegirls at the office, you know what I mean? Things like that. And people are going to be looking to supplement that from your social media activity. So if you're not saying anything, to Erin's point, it's kind of worse because now people are just dying to talk to somebody, dying to have a conversation, and there's no spark of a conversation being tossed out. You know what I mean?
Engaging with people.
You could be that spark.
And it's what grows your account too, honestly, is engaging in conversations, creating that online community that's going to sometimes even grow up more than posting more frequently. But so That's the biggest thing, which makes it kind of a challenge, right? Because it's easy to just say like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to get buried, so I'm not going to post today, right? Like the day that the Capitol was attacked, like it's okay. So I don't want to get buried in the news, so I'm just not going to post.
Right.
But it's honestly not really, I mean, it would be, the entirety of the post doesn't have to be completely relevant to what's going on either. You don't have to repost, from like some type of subversive political anything. You really could post the content that you normally do if it's photos of yourself or photos of your product or whatever it is, but you could somehow relate the copy back to what's going on, right?
Right.
Wishing people well, or hope for a peaceful resolution, that type of a thing. So it's not necessarily about getting buried. Like you can't just give up. It's not that easy. You have to work a little harder to find the workaround in there. But yeah, I think that's maybe my biggest, most useful thought on that with everything that's going on. Just trying to you got to continue to work at it. It's consistency.
And another thing too is that when it comes to like really sensitive events like the Capitol storming or like the Black Lives Matter protests and the deaths, you know what I mean? My personal opinion is if you don't want to get involved into any of that and you don't want to get canceled, then I would suggest like taking 3 days to get off the internet, or take at least like a week, no longer than a week. You know what I mean? Just because, people do come at creators sideways, and if you don't want to be a part of that, like definitely don't. But like these things normally take like 2-3 days to like ice out after a while. You know what I mean? So like kind of like wait till the smoke clears, but don't wait too long. You know what I mean? Just enough to see over the horizon, but like not enough to just like haul yourself inside, you know?
Yeah. And I think usually kind of coming from a bigger perspective about all of it, if you're worried about losing followers. Because I especially have one client who does not ever, ever, ever post on anything even remotely political, simply because of, who his customers are. So I'm like, okay, like I've learned that, it's fine. Like we're not going to post for those types of things. But when something is such a huge event that it feels out of touch to ignore it, then yeah, kind of coming from a bigger picture perspective, right? Like well-being for the world type of perspective is, I think, where you want to focus your time on those days, if you feel like you'd have to kind of be in it, or it would be a comment on it, right?
Right. And like I'll give you another example. So like one thing that I saw during like the Black Lives Matter protests, if we're taking like an example of things people get like really sensitive about, I saw local skincare brands. They were like, well, we're not touching the Black Lives Matter thing, but we want everybody to know that we support the individuals feeling troubled. Therefore, as a skincare brand, we're going to share our favorite partners' skincare brands, or like skincare brands that we know and love and that we think need the support. You know what I mean? You could do things like that. You could reach out and say, like, you know what? Here are some other people doing it big. Let the spotlight not be on me for this one time. Let me shift it to my homegirl over there whipping up stuff in her kitchen. You know what I mean? Things like that are definitely a good way to not be silent. Or even if you want to feature people on your feed and say like, hey, with everything going on, if you guys could like DM me some people that you think need promotion for their business, like let's share the spotlight for them in this troubled time. You know what I mean? And things like that. Like you always want to make yourself available, and you always want to strike up a conversation about like where attention is going and like where is it going to be most useful, because you don't want to feed into the issues, but you also feel like you need to say something. You know what I mean? I definitely get that to and fro, but my go-to is always look to support people in your community and like pushing those names up. If you have no idea what to do, it's always just the best way to go, because it makes you look supportive if you are supportive.
I'm trying to think other tips for right now.
Yeah. So you know what, Erin? Let's go back to the subject of people are concerned about overposting during the pandemic. So what are some tips that you could recommend, or like, in your opinion, like how does one work around that oversaturation of posting during the pandemic feeling?
my first thing would be that consistency is the king of everything.
Yeah.
So if you had a plan before the pandemic, if you were making sure that you were posting no less than twice a week, right? Or no less than 4 times a week, stay with that. It's not really so much about adjusting the frequency when you're in the middle of a big event. It's, hi, Cheryl. It's more about staying consistent, and people will notice that. Cheryl, actually, who just joined, she owns the company Anchor Collection. She's one of my clients, and that's what some of the feedback that her clients give us a lot is just that they're really excited to see what we're going to come up with next, and they know that they're going to get their newsletter, right? And they know about when they're going to get their newsletter. And they know that they're going to at least hear from us like a couple of times a week, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that, you're trying to establish brand loyalty with content marketing. You're not necessarily trying to be, all up in everybody's grill all the time.
Right.
So it is establishing consistency and, showing people who you are. And so I think if you had a plan that you were going with before, stick to the plan, don't let your course of action be too altered by what's going on. The content's going to change, but the frequency is hopefully not going to change. Your turn.
Yeah.
You have sugar on your mouth.
Oh, do I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Other side. No, very good.
So I have 2 tips. So my first tip is decide what you could push to your feed and decide what you could push to your stories.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that your stories and your highlights are the perfect place to dump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people watch stories and I don't know if anybody knows the vibe about stories, but stories, some people be having 20 slide stories that you just be sitting there just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just completely machine gunning through on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally fine. That's what they're there for. They got that many slots for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feed posts only have 6-10 slots versus stories where you could do that ad nauseum. You know what I mean? And it's up there for 24 hours, then it goes away. Then you can do it again. You know what I mean? It's the perfect place to dump. So if going back to your consistency thing, if you have a lot of material, but you're afraid of dumping, then you should definitely say you know what? Every 4th postable material I can put on my feed, and then the rest goes to the stories. You know what I mean? So that way you still use all your content, and people share stories too.
Yeah.
Because they're a lot quicker. They're only 10, 15 seconds. You could repost them and things like that the same way you do your feed stuff, and it gets around much faster, to be honest. And that's, you still get your money's worth. You still got your stuff. It's still online. People can still see it. And again, but you do want to keep in mind that whole 24-hour thing. So when you're doing that separation of your content, definitely say this is something I only anticipate people caring about for a day. This is something I feel should remain on my main page, right? Reallocating, strategizing, thinking about the usefulness of your content. My second thing is understand that viewership for all type of content went up during the pandemic because people were inside. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people are scared to oversaturate their feeds with things, but I was looking at the data recently, and across all social media platforms, went up 7 to 13 seconds more than it was before the pandemic. You know what I mean? And you might think, well, 7 to 13 seconds, that's not a big deal, but that's one more video. That's one more post. That's one more ad than people were seeing. You know what I mean? And if you paid that money to have that ad running and you only got that 10 seconds, 15 seconds, you're going to need that exposure regardless of whether you think it's too short for you or not. You know what I mean? Because that's one more than it was. And that's enough.
I read something the other day that screen time went up at 6 times over what it was, at the start of the pandemic. And then with the second shutdown, that it increased even further. So that it is it's kind of counterintuitive, but if you can do it and you can stay safe, it's a really good time to start content marketing right now. It's a really good time to start shooting videos. It's a really good time to start, a well-planned social media campaign.
Yeah.
Because people are just on their phones so much, and they're more likely to see whatever you're putting out there, and they're more likely to watch it. And ultimately, hear the message, internalize the message, and act on it. So yeah, the stats right now are showing that it's a really great time to start any kind of initiative that you've been thinking about starting.
Yeah, for sure. And to her point about starting initiatives, I know a lot of your guys' office spaces have closed, but like you could definitely go into your office space to like film your materials. You know what I mean? You could start your new pandemic only series, limited series, and then like make people watch it. Like if you have fitness businesses, for example, or like chiropractor offices or like massage offices, you could totally use that opportunity to bring one of your COVID safe tested friends in and then like educate people on techniques, which is probably something you didn't have the time or the opportunity to do before the pandemic. You know what I mean? You could definitely like use that time to re-strategize your techniques. And 2021, you're going to want to be more personable. You know what I mean? People are going to want to see you. They're going to want to see that transparency, credibility. It offers you a chance to display your credibility, your knowledge. If you have things you wanted to talk about but never got that chance to talk about, now you go talk about them. You know what I mean? And I would just want to double down with everybody on the whole thing about 2021. Since we're in January and since we have time, you should really think about using your spare time and spare empty places to really come up with a new series for yourself and make it fun. You know what I mean? If you're like working from home, bring your kids into video and talk about what it's like to work from home. If you're like a chef, like start whipping stuff in your kitchen instead of whipping stuff in your like restaurant kitchen. You know what I mean? Make home meals, like switch up the vibe. You know what I mean? And like if you're a coffee shop owner, then tell people about coffee that you buy at the store compared to your coffee because you know it's more lit than that. You know what I mean? Like you could do spin it so many ways. And more importantly, we just want everybody to understand that it's okay to have fun with your content. You know what I mean? Because again, we've been looking for people to have fun with, and it's just hard to have access to during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Like my birthday's tomorrow. I'm not going to be spending it with anybody.
Yeah, his birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me. And you know what I mean?
Sorry about
just
the
like
dog.
I would love more adventures with people. I would love more online things. I would love opportunities to talk to people. And if you guys don't have a live, you guys should start doing some lives because you know what? Again, going back to that whole thing about people are looking for social interaction. When you're doing things like these live shows that me and Erin are doing, people can talk to you live. If you haven't had a good conversation with anybody in a while, then now's the perfect time to do it. You know what I mean? And you could respond real time, miss you. And that could be like a series, a thing for yourself, you know? And it's really just about taking the time to re-strategize and come up with some concrete ideas to make yourself more personable, more transparent, more likable, and things like that for 2021.
The dog is, he wants to join the conversation.
I know he's hyper today. Charlie, do you have anything to say?
He's just not quite tall enough to join the conversation. Charlie, what do you have to say, bud? What do you have to say?
I definitely see a lot of drool.
Yeah, he's drooling a little bit. He's drooling. He's panting. His little tail is going. Yeah. What do you have to say, huh? You want to talk to all the people? Yeah. Charlie's the emotional support of the outfit. He knows that his role is very important.
Honestly.
But sometimes he doesn't quite know how to convey, you know. Charlie's marketing campaign and his mission statement need a little bit of they need a little work. Need to work on how he's conveying his message. Yeah, I know.
So, Erin, do you have any other things you would like to say regarding how to stay relevant during the pandemic? What are some things that you've seen people do that you think works? If you know any examples.
I think a lot of it is kind of normalizing the struggle.
Yeah, very.
I think from a personal perspective, and that's why I say, you know, like it doesn't all have to be positive all the time. I know that there's lots of, you know, and a lot of my clients too will say like, no, it's got to be positive. The message has to be positive. But I think that there's a different level of positivity that's, you know, that more normalizes what we're all going through right now, you know, and that really really kind of just is saying like, yeah, it sucks. Like, this is hard. Well, I know it's hard, but we're going to be okay, you know? And that in and of itself, I think is really helpful. And that seems to be doing really well.
Yeah.
It trends really well because, you know, nobody wants to feel like they're stressed out and worried over everything that's going on all by themselves. So it helps to have people around in a digital community, because you're right, there isn't really community right now.
Yeah.
You know, like we see each other, like we work together, we see each other every day. So, but other than this, you know, like, yeah, we're not seeing people. So it's very hard. I think that, yeah, what I'm seeing work is normalizing the feelings and saying like, hey, it's scary right now. It's cool. It's all right. You know, we're going to be okay. And then giving people something to de-stress, right? If you don't have to necessarily stop talking about, the places that you go or the places you're excited to go. If they're fun to look at, you can be, you know, you can do a whole campaign on, oh, look at where we're going to go. Right. So it's things like that. It's just finding new ways, interesting ways to spin what you're already doing.
Yeah. You know, another thing that I'll say, because you brought up a very interesting point, there is much more lack of community right now than there was when things were open. Mm-hmm. So you know what? That's another thing that I totally forgot to bring up. You could create whatever community you want to now. You know what I mean? And also understand that like riding the whole struggle bus thing with people, right? Like that's a type of community. So like if you're a business person, you could be like insurance people from the pandemic. You know what I mean? You can start a Facebook page. You can start like things. You can start communicating with people. Yeah. Because again, social media is more than just sharing memes and canceling people who have like a very slightly different opinion than ours. You know what I mean? Like social media is about being sociable. And if you have something and like you're internalizing, like let it out and make a group about it, because people love ranting. You know what I mean? People love being a part of something. People love feeling like they have a group to go to. You know what I mean? Because communities are systems, and systems offer support. And what we need during a pandemic is a lot of support. You know what I mean? So you guys should definitely think about, you know what, if we don't have a community of people created for ABC, then we can do that. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. I don't know this person. I social media know them, but I don't know them. You know what I mean? So there's a guy who's not a professional chef, but he's a very good home cook. You know what I mean? And he just makes things with a waffle iron. Like, I like it. Literally just like pushes anything he can into a waffle iron. Like cheeseburger, waffle iron. Fries, waffle iron. Shoe, waffle iron. You know what I mean? And that's his vibe. And then he tells people like, hey, if you guys have some interesting waffle iron recipes, like press it on. You know what I mean? And then like send me videos we can repost. We can be a waffle iron community. You know what I mean? Goodness. And it's like so funny because people really do just be like stuffing everything in waffle irons now.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. He created a thing. It's the waffle iron thing. You guys need your own waffle iron things.
My last thing, I think, and then we probably should go.
Yeah.
Wow, that went fast. Diversifying your feeds.
Yes.
So it is, you know, we're all, and this is more just as a way to grow yourself than anything, but diversifying your feeds. And unless it's extremely offensive or mentally it makes you feel bad, you know, or is just harmful in some way, I think, well, the stats show actually, you know, that diversifying your feed, following as many different types of accounts as possible, even if they don't agree with your viewpoint, even if they don't necessarily agree with your worldview, but getting out there and opening your mind to things, again, as long as they're not harmful. Yeah. But is a really, really great way to, first of all, grow your mindset, but it's also a really great way to grow your community. So like Chris was talking about niching down, creating a community around a niche. The opposite of that you should kind of be doing at the same time is also diversifying who you're talking to and diversifying who you're following. So yeah, that's kind of my last.
Last tidbits. And so we would at this time like to thank everybody for joining us for our first episode of 2021. please send us your questions, send us topics, send us things you want us to talk about. We have things we'd like to talk about. We still got a load of questions for you. No shortage of content.
We also are we're switching it up a little bit. We're going to be featuring a different local nonprofit every month. So if you have a desire to give, or you haven't picked someone to give to this month, the Warner Grand Theater turns 90 tomorrow. 90 years old tomorrow. The Warner Grand is a theater in downtown San Pedro. It was designed by the architect who designed the Pantages.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's this old Art Deco building inside and out. It's absolutely beautiful. And they do a lot of really great work in the community with the schools. The Grand Vision Foundation works out of the Warner Grand. They do all kinds of workshops, art-based, music-based workshops in the schools. And they're trying to restore the theater. The theater does need work inside. So, those of us who are local are excited about the birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you want to head over to their site, Grand Vision Foundation, you can donate to the Warner Grand. Or if you want to email us, we can send you links as well. And
yeah, for sure.
We're going to try to brave that. I can hear the wind.
Yeah, the wind is fighting something and winning.
Yeah.
For sure.
The wind is conquering big time today. Everything is down, so.
I know. I had to make sure my weed glue was in before I came.
Hats. Yeah.
Everything.
But I'm excited. I'm going to put my sweats on and cuddle my dog with some tea.
That sounds so amazing.
Boat. The boat's going to be going like that tonight. I tightened everything up.
Erin, can I ask you a question?
What?
Is it true that you feel rocked to sleep every night?
No.
It's not true?
No.
Oh.
It's a very lovely, romantic idea of what it's going to be. Now, you're so far back in the marina usually.
Yeah.
You're so far away from, real wind most of the time that, no, you don't.
Yeah, and so for everybody who doesn't know exactly what we're talking about, so Erin lives on a boat because she's a mermaid.
Thank you. Oh, you want to see one of Chris's Christmas presents?
Oh, yeah. Let's show the fans.
Yeah. Charlie, no, it's not for you. He thinks everything's for him. Chris got me shot glasses that have mermaid tail inside of them. They are mermaid tail shot glasses.
Our local mermaid.
Yeah, I love them. I don't do shots, but they're beautiful.
Erin's more of a keg stand girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I be honest?
Yes, we love honesty.
Okay, this is horrible, though.
We love horrible.
I don't actually know what that is.
Know what keg stand is?
I don't. I have no idea.
Oh.
I'm trying to imagine it in my mind right now, and I'm like, I think I'm getting it wrong. I don't know what that is.
Well, you know what?
I was homeschooled.
Were you?
Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I don't know about life, to be completely honest.
Well, I went to Catholic school, so there were no sense there.
You don't know too much about everything.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Now we gotta go, because I gotta catch Erin up on a bunch of stories and a bunch of American Pie movies she's probably missing out on.
And we have to try to get home somehow, too.
Indeed. So
without dying.
This will be our goodbye of our first episode 2021.
Aww.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Y'all are the GOAT. Have a fantastic evening. John said cake. Love you, John.
Love you, John.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
See you soon.